There you go.
Hey everybody, it's Billy Rainford here from Direct Motocross. We're going to wrap up today's Rockstar Triple Crown Motocross Nationals Round 1, Saturday that is. We had one moto done today at Gopher Dunes. I'd like to introduce Greg Poisson. Greg, thanks for hanging out with us here.
Thanks for having me on the show.
You know what we do?
What do
we officially open the Sneaky Weasel show by opening the official Sneaky Weasels. Here we go. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
Sneaky Weasel, the choice of champions. You ever won anything?
Nope.
All right, well, so yeah, today was round 1, Saturday. Lots of excitement going in. A very strange situation, obviously, with the whole COVID-19 thing. We're just happy to be racing. It went off. It was hot. The guys did a great job. Derek Schuster and the gang did a lot of their normal things. They kind of did a bunch of extra lines through corners. The one change we noticed, I guess, was after the finish line. There wasn't the long sweeper. It was actually a tight 180 to come back. Other than that, things were pretty similar to that. It was, again, very hot, 30 degrees, 31 degrees, humid. Obviously, it's the humidity that gets everybody. But Greg, we're going to talk about a couple of the races or something that happened early on that you want to mention before we get to the racing action?
I mean, everything was pretty exciting, pretty straightforward. It was hot, humid, typical Gopher Dunes in July.
Okay.
Definitely a day at the beach.
And it was interesting too, because with the way the restrictions and everything, we're following all the rules. We're wearing masks everywhere, especially when we're around people. Everyone was doing that quite well, so kudos to everybody for jumping through these hoops. Like I say, has to happen so we can keep moving forward with this stuff. But the start of the day was weird. 7:30 riders meeting. Wasn't a meeting at all. It was actually Paul Kingsley over the radio, so you're able to sit in your pit, in your car kind of thing, your pit, and listen to it over the radio, and then go. So people weren't gathering. They weren't even putting up live timing, like live stuff for the mechanics to see, because we didn't want people gathering. So they took all kinds of precautions there, and I think it worked out very well. So
yeah, no tech either this year, so that was something a little different.
No tech, so there were some 1975 bikes. I'm kidding.
There's a couple three-wheelers out there. Yeah, it was different, but it went off without a hitch first day. So day 1, round 1, Moto 1.
Yeah, that's right. So let's talk about that. And what they did too is they did 450s first. So we'll talk about the 450s. Lots of questions going in there. It was actually the first 450 MX National at the pro level for Dylan Wright, the local boy. And I mean, what can you say about that? We'll get to him, of course, but he won. I think you already know he won, but it was pretty impressive performance by him. But yeah, let's talk about. Oh, before it even started, we were wondering. Let's talk about Matt Gerke too, because out in practice he had had some issues. Went down pretty hard. Saw Chad Goodwin, the team manager, there pushing the bike off. We were concerned that he was okay. Turns out Matt was fine. They just had a little bit of a quirky little bike issue happen. It was fixed in like 30 seconds, basically, Chad told me. So it was a little bit of a fluky thing that can happen when you're working with dirt bikes and stuff. So they fixed it up, got Matt out for the moto.
Yeah, I was aware of that, and small bike issue. We know Matt is always tough as nails, and got right back out there. And obviously, he's a good sand rider, so it was good to see him out there. These things happen round 1. This is kind of the way it goes. So yeah, it seems to be he did well.
Yeah, so we'll go to so again. Qualifying was pretty interesting. Did a free practice and then one qualifying session, so they went into that.
Yeah, it was a typical kind of cat and mouse games out there in qualifier. You saw some guys hopping in, trying to find out the fast lines as well as see who was going fast and going where. I know I saw a few guys cut the track, just trying to get in on somebody and try to figure it out quickly, because they only had the one time qualifier. Right,
so then we head to the line. Let's get to that. Everything, the pro stuff was all done by noon, so then they could get one moto done by noon today, and then we moved on to the amateur program. So pro stuff was all done by noon. Now they're all resting and getting ready for the 2 motos tomorrow on Sunday.
Yeah.
Gate drops, 450s. We got Cole Thompson out front.
Yeah. CT was out front early. It was great to see him out there. Not always. I mean, he's not always the best starter. He's usually up there near the front, but not usually the whole shot kind of guy. He got up front and seemed to be wanting to put in some fast laps right away. So it was nice to see Ontario boy up there.
Yeah, so Cole was out first, and I mean, I was able to go to some of these preseason AMO provincial races, and it was Cole Thompson, Dylan Wright battling out there up front. Sometimes Sean Moffenbauer was in there too, which obviously we'll get to talk to him. But on the first lap, I believe it was first lap, Dylan was able to make the pass on Cole, get out front, and man, that was all she wrote for the first place situation. So Dylan made an early pass, got out front, and basically checked out.
Yeah, I actually saw the pass. It was near the back section. He came in, just great inside line, just took the line away. It wasn't aggressive, overly aggressive. It was a good pass, first opening a beginning part of the moto, and yeah, he made the pass and then just decided to lay the hammer and check out. So
he sure did. Behind him, it was number 54, Triple Crown defending champ, Phil Nicoletti, and then Tyler Medaglia, who's a previous winner here, and Matt Gerke back out there with the bike problem solved and got out there. So we were looking for Sean Moffenbauer. He was a ways back right off the start. You know, he put his head down and started making. I said put his head down. I don't think I've ever used that cliche, but yeah. So anyway, he did that and started moving his way up, and man, he had some good battles back there. Him and not back there, but as he moved up. Sam Gaynor, teammate, he was catching up on Sam, and
they stuck together for I think the whole moto. It was Sam was out front, so Gaynor was out front of Moffenbauer, and they seemed to be just kind of sticking together like glue for the rest of the moto. So that's I think there was a couple pass attempts. I didn't see Moff get by, but Sam held him off. So that was kudos to Sam for that. I think he did really well.
Yeah. So actually, by lap 3, Nicoletti had made his way up into second place. Dylan was starting to make a little bit of a gap there. Cole Thompson was running in third, and then it was Tyler Medaglia, teammates, and Matt Gerke next. And then kind of on lap 3 or 4 is when right after the mechanics area, Phil Nicoletti had a crash, kind of fell over in there and picked himself up and fell back a few places there for sure. And that put him behind Sam Gaynor, and he had a nice little battle. Sam, it was great getting some laps out there with defending champ there behind him, pressuring him. Did a good job. I also was impressed with the battle between Keelan Meston and Bobby Piazza up from New York. That was a really good one at first. There was a bit of a mix-up with the scoring, some kind of a transponder thing with Keelan, so at first he was scored as a 31st, but he was not. He was up in 7th place. Last lap, Bobby Piazza pressuring Keelan, had the greatest race, crossed the finish line, bike died, ran out of gas. He even did top it off after the sight lap and everything, but Bobby was pretty pissed off, unfortunately. He was talking about it though, because I was standing right there, and so we chatted about it. He smiled, and off he had to push his bike. He was looking for someone to the Napoleon Dynamite thing. He wanted someone to pull him into town.
But, pull me into town, Napoleon.
Not the kind of day at the end of the race you want to push your bike back in the sand. How's it look, James?
Excellent.
That was James shooting hoops back there. Did he drain one?
Not when he's on camera.
So then, basically at the halfway mark, we had it was Dylan Wright was out front. He had that gap that he built up, and then it was Tyler Medaglia in second, had moved his way up. Tyler was looking great.
Super solid. Tyler is always like watching Tyler ride any national track, but especially Gopher Dunes. It seems like he's known to be super fit, and he was just looking very, very comfortable, aggressive when he needed to be, and it really didn't make any mistakes that I saw.
No, I didn't notice any either for sure. He just he got there, and that's where he looked great up there battling. And at first he had a bit of a gap on his teammate Matt Gerke, and it seemed like Matt kind of got the confidence back in the bike and everything, and he started really kind of closing in, and you thought it was going to be the Matt Gerke show at Gopher Dunes like we've seen in the past, where he just slays the track, but wasn't able to make it happen.
No, I'm sure T-Dags held strong and pulled down a little bit of a gap too by the end. So
and still behind them in fourth at this point halfway was Cole Thompson was there, and he had a gap on Nicoletti who had gotten around Sam Gaynor, and they were kind of riding by themselves at that point. It was Nicoletti, then Gaynor, then Moffenbauer, then that battle between Meston and Piazza that I was talking about. And they had a big gap onto the working man's favorite, Liam O'Farrell, was up there on the number 64, and then he had a pretty big gap. And another guy that rode by himself I was pretty impressed by Parker Eels up there, number 36.
Yeah, he was just by himself. It seemed like him and Liam. I think Dave Bell mentioned at one point Liam was running really consistent lap times the whole time. I think he must have had some sort of feedback where he was, and it seemed like Liam, was just like a diesel, just got moving and didn't really slow down, just kind of kept the same pace and looked really solid the whole time. Right.
And then about 3 laps later, I think it was Nicoletti made his way around Cole Thompson, who Cole started to look like there was something going on. You can kind of see this, he's always smooth, so it's tough to tell, but you could tell the pace wasn't there, and he was not his usual self, checking out lines and taking different spots, and so you had to get a little bit concerned. So obviously I'm foreshadowing here, but so there was something obviously going on that we didn't really know about at the time, right?
Yep, no, nobody was aware of it because he didn't crash that I saw early on, and just didn't really have a ton of fight in him, unfortunately, and that's unlike Cole. He's definitely a battler, and will come back at you. If you're trying to make a pass on him, he makes it hard to do that. So it was a little different.
Right. So then let's just flash forward to with 2 laps to go, kind of thing. You could tell Liam was looking over his shoulder, checking on the track, knew where he was. He even started throwing big whips over the finish line there, jumping. Oh no, so the old finish line,
Liam.
Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, there we go.
Dylan throwing some nice stuff out there for the crowd who were loving it. It was awesome. He just looked so comfortable out there. It was amazing. Then behind them was a really good battle between, you had Medaglia, Gerke, and Nicoletti had made his way right up to them. And
it was a 3-pack, a solid 3-pack of guys. They were definitely pressuring each other. T-Dag's leading the charge, and then Gerke and Nicoletti, all old rivals, I think. So they were kind of reigniting that.
Right, and then and as I mentioned, behind that, Cole Thompson ended up riding by himself there for a bit too, and then big gap back to Moffenbauer was now closing right up on Gaynor. They were having a good one. You could tell Sam knew where Sean was, and he started putting the hammer down. And he actually looked really comfortable up there. So kudos to him. And then let's look at the checkered flag. Like I mentioned, Dylan Wright threw that nice whip for the crowd. Everybody's loving that.
Yeah, that
came
was cool.
around, took the win, won his first pro 450 race.
Yeah, I mean, not really a
Motocross.
huge surprise, but I'm sure, especially as not his home track, I guess, but team's home track. He's from the Ottawa area, so I'd say Sandley's more of his home track, but definitely GDR, obviously Gopher Dunes Racing Honda is Gopher Dunes, their home track. So yeah, he's obviously spun a lot of laps there, but he looked really, really good and ultimately just walked away. Yeah,
and then behind him, Tyler Medaglia hung on to second, like we said, and then behind them was basically a photo finish. Phil Nicoletti. Trying to get right there by trying to get by Gerke, and he did, and Matt just didn't want to give up, and they were literally like wheel to wheel as they crossed the finish line. So Nicoletti did make his way back up to get on that podium. So kudos to him for fighting back after having to pick his bike up in that heat.
Yeah, that's not easy. That's for sure. Definitely.
And he lost a lot of times. I mean, for tomorrow.
Yeah, he knows some fast lines around there, so definitely gonna have to see. He had to pass a few people, so I mean he knows where to get the job done coming into tomorrow. Yeah,
so not surprisingly, the champ's probably going to be one to watch if he doesn't go down like he did. I'm sure he wasn't too happy with throwing it away like that, a possible win, but we'll see if he can regroup tomorrow. And in the 2-moto format, it's supposed to get warmer even, so we'll see who's done their homework.
Yep.
And at that point we were kind of concerned because I was like, did I miss Cole Thompson? Right, I was looking. I was like, where did Cole go?
So we were looking for Cole. I saw. I guess Cole had gone down. I didn't see it personally, but I later found out that he'd gone down, and then kind of made his way around the outside of the track, which thought was a little odd for the last lap. He definitely didn't look like himself, and then kind of went through the finish line. So that was a bit of a shuffling of positions after the checkered flag, because I think they got him through at 11th. By the transponder line,
right.
And then he was later handed a 5-position penalty for finish 16th.
Right, so I guess he came in, and I guess, like you said, he kind of came around the outside, then he kind of cut across just to get to the transponder and the finish line. He was just beat. It was kind of, it was like, I'm not sure what happened. So I spoke to Kyle Thompson, his older brother kind of thing. It was kind of like, what is Cole all right? What happened? And he mentioned that, like I said, we've been watching some of the AMO provincials there at Gopher Dunes, and a little while back, he hit a fallen lapper or something like that in one of the races, and he has a cut under his arm here that ended up getting infected. So he was out there in that messy heat and sweat and everything, and it was with an infection, and he wasn't feeling well, and I guess he was throwing up and everything, is what Kyle was saying. So he was really trying to hang on. So I mean, you can understand that he had fever, I'm sure. I mean, you have to think about infection and everything, but anyway, he was getting some treatment afterwards, so hopefully he's okay to go tomorrow. Of course he's going to try to go tomorrow, but
of course he's a warrior, and with Cole, he's Gopher Dunes is tough enough as it is. It's hard enough to get through a 35-minute moto there. So to deal with any sort of sickness or infection has got to be makes it 10 times harder. So he made it right near the end, and obviously he's had that fall. So that's unfortunate, but I'm sure he'll bounce back from that as Cole is known to do.
Right. So the old saying that goes, you can't win it at the first round.
But you can lose it.
Yeah, so hopefully Cole can do some damage control tomorrow, which obviously is going to need it in this shortened schedule. So hopefully he's feeling better anyway.
Top 10 rundown maybe?